Hello and good night. Once again, it's another Monday, and we are here live in Tobago Update Studios for another episode of For the Hour. I am Edison Thomas, and I'll be the host/moderator for the discussion tonight. All right, and compliments of the season to you. All right, might be early for some, might be late for some, but compliments of the season to you. All right, so tonight we have a jam-packed program for you tonight, and so there are many topics we want to discuss. Not going to dilly-dally too much on the preamble to it, but we have our esteemed panel joining us as well, and who I would introduce just now. But before we get into it, we just want to give our congratulations. First and foremost, Tobago has received the Wanderlust Silver Prize for the most desirable destination, which at the World Travel Market in London, we just received it last week. The World Travel Market is an expo where the countries of the world and destinations of the world, they come together, as well as travel stakeholders, tourism stakeholders. They all come together to market each other and make those networking connections so that we could improve each other's tourism product and, kind of direct tourism marketing towards these different destinations. All right, and so the Tobago sent a contingent to this version of the World Travel Market, and at the culmination of it, we did receive the Wanderlust Silver Award for Most Desirable Destination. So congratulations for all of those stakeholders who would have worked hard, and if it is that they would make submissions, congratulations to Tobago. All right, we did do something right in order to get the award, and so we deserve congratulations for that. All right, but we'll go to not too much dilly-dallying. We're going to go straight into the topics that we have for tonight. First, as we started off on tourism, we're going to continue on that light. And to introduce the panel, firstly, we have the president of all Tobago Fisher Folk, apologies, Mr. Curtis Douglas, and we also have Mr. Anthony James, who is a political activist, all right, joining us on the set tonight in Tobago Studios. Gentlemen, good night. Nice to have you on. Right, I hope that we'll have a fruitful discussion tonight. So I was just explaining that we sent a contingent into London for this year's World Travel Market. It's a fairly massive event that usually takes place every year, and we do this in order to market ourselves as a tourism destination, right? And so I want to go into the quality of what do you think the quality of our marketing has been over the past couple years, because we know in Tobago, and it's been said in time memoriam, that our tourism product is one of the main earners for us, all right? And depending on who you ask, some would say that we're doing a great job, some would say that we need to do a better job of marketing ourselves and bringing attention to the island to improve our tourism product. All right, so I'm going to start with Mr. Anthony James. For the past, let's say 5 years, how do you think our tourism trust has been going? How have we been developing our tourism product as an island?
A very pleasant evening.
Good night.
Pleasant evening to my fellow panelists, and very pleasant evening to all the viewers, Tobagonians especially. Our tourism product, how well we have been doing, how well we have been marketing, how well we. Who is that we? Or who is that Tobago? I have to ask myself those questions. Who owns Tobago? Who owns the tourist product? And then you said that it has been said that tourism is one of our main earners.
Right.
Do we have any official breakdown on that? Have we categorized an economy in Tobago so that we know that the agricultural sector is producing this amount, and this is a contribution to our upkeep, to the GDP, in energy resources?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And all the different aspects. Do we have really an economic structure from which we can report to the people? And so that we have had this. And by this measure, we are hoping to grow by this percentage.
Right.
You don't have that. All the talking to be quite blunt and to be quite honest, is just a sort of airy-fairy talk that other people have spoken. The younger generation come up, they hear it and they're repeating the same thing. And it's a very dangerous state of affairs, because we might find ourselves, we can find ourselves expending energy, resources, you know, just open, just freely. And we don't know what's really going on, but we're really doing it because we have heard. We have heard so. Now you make that statement.
Right.
And I'm sure if I ask any Tobagoan, if I ask the Chief Secretary, the Secretary of Tourism, if I ask the Secretary for Finance, none of them can tell me that this sector has yielded such and contributed such to the GDP of Tobago. None of them. We don't even know what it is. So we are really operating in abstraction.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What I could add to that too is that things need to be segmented in terms of Trinidad and Tobago, because at the end of the day, I think when it comes to Trinidad, they can't tell you that number, how much tourism contributes to the GDP of the entire country.
They know.
They would know that.
Yeah.
But for us, there isn't that body that is driving that research, that economic research, to tell us where it's coming from, as you said, agriculture, how much is agriculture, how much is tourism, and that would be able to drive a lot of the policy that we do.
And that's how you begin to constitute a budget.
Yes.
That's how you plan. Right? In the absence of that, what you're having is just really rhetoric going on, and then we must ask ourselves, we must answer the question, who are we really working for? So that we didn't send that. The Chief Secretary took a contingent and he went. Tobago didn't send anybody. We must also understand that. The Chief Secretary on his own volition took a contingency of people, or a contingent of people, and went to market as far as he's concerned.
Right.
I don't know what exactly we are going, because there is no report. The budget for Tobago is fixed. And it is not fixed from here. It's not fixed by us. The budget is fixed by somebody else. And I don't know that we are making any moves as a responsible people to do anything by that. There is no revenue authority. I've been calling for that for the longest while, especially when this regime come in. You have to build institutions. If you don't build the institutions to govern the country, I observe, I didn't say the island, to govern the Tobagonian country, nation, and people, if we don't build the institutions, we are practically functioning as a borough council of Trinidad, whether we realize it or not. Then how many people in Tobago, the native Tobagonian I'm talking, the people like you and me who come down here, our forefathers in what they call slavery, build the cabin, plant the corn, and therefore now we are now the owners and the true natives of Tobago, as Gatti James said. That's the elder brother of Vanessa James, who might be well known here. He wrote in his book, The Natives in Transition, that's a book on Tobago. He called us the new natives, because we are the true owners here of Tobago. We're not squatters. We ought not to be functioning as squatters. We have to be functioning as owners of Tobago. How many of us are employed in that tourism industry, as we call it? How many of us? And at what salaries are we really joining and so on? But I'm putting it to you, I'm putting it to all of Tobago, that the tourism product in Tobago is not owned by Tobago. It's not owned by Tobagonians.
Right. I get you.
And we need to ponder that. And so that, in closing, wrapping up here for now, what you really have going on is a socio-economic political empire is building up in Tobago, just like the former days, where the planters, the enslavers control, and they have the money, and we were the employees for nothing. We were the workers. If you examine it carefully now, it's not different.
Right. And what I want to add to that, because when I was a younger guy. I was a younger guy because I can't say young because we have more experience with me on the panel, right? Yeah. I remember in I think it was a World Food Day Expo when it used to be in Shaw Park, when we had it in Shaw Park. I went there, and at that point in time, it could be early 2000s, that we won the best eco-tourism destination, right, in the world at that point in time. All right, and at that point, you were seeing cruise ships, you were seeing a number of flights coming in from England. It was a lot, and to me, that would have been one of the high points. And I'm talking about the early 2000s, like 2001, 2002, right? That, to me, I could have seen a high point in tourism at that point in time, right? I do not know if it was by luck or by design, right? Because sometimes in tourism is very trendy. Sometimes a destination might pop off not by design, but because they have natural elements that people so desire, which we did have at that point in time. And so you were seeing the people coming in, and the years go by, and we didn't capitalize to keep that, and it slowly derogated into. So we are going to go to Mr. Douglas. Mr. Douglas, what do you think? Do you think that Tobago has allowed that product? We didn't capitalize on that attention that we had in the 90s and 2000s, and now we have allowed it to disintegrate into almost nothing?
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Mr. Thomas, Brother James, good night to you. Good night to the listening public and all the viewers. Now, I want everybody to really, they should take this show tonight, because the kind of information that's going to come out here tonight is one so that Tobagonians and other people to remember. So before we even go to the question that was posed to me, first thing, what data do we have to assess the tourism industry? Yeah. How our budget is read? You have to collect data.
Definitely.
Right? For example, slavery. If we don't understand what happened in the slavery, we will be lost. So right now, I think, I'm not saying that we are lost. Probably I am ignorant of the fact. I don't know if they have the data. I do not know. But when you're talking tourism, there's a whole host of things you have to do to navigate your way to having a successful tourism in your island or your country. All right? So what the rewards or silver, we're still not first. First to begin.
The number one.
Still not number one.
We need to be number one.
Right?
Number two, as the case.
I like that.
And the Chief Secretary has said, what? The bestest little island we have?
The greatest little island.
So we should be number one.
Number one.
So we're not number one. So in essence, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Because no one remembers second place. They only remember first. Okay? So these have to be collected and toss and weigh and see how best we can navigate our futuristic goals to boost and upgrade one of the main things that drives the strive a country, which is your GDP. How much money you earn. Right? Now, I would like to believe that, led by the Chief Secretary, his contingents, and his Tourism Secretary, that when he was out there in Europe, that he would be coming back to Tobagonians to tell Tobagonians, we have just signed a deal with an airline, and Grafton going to be able to be filled, Turtle Beach going to be able to be filled, and all the little islands and all the little villas, the guest house will be able to be sold out. So when it's sold out, we could tell within a year or within 10 years how much money our hard work and investment in these airlines, right, would bring to our GDP in the next 5 years. We're not talking about no 1 year, no 2 years, no 3 years. We have to think down the line. So I hope that will be the conversation, that you would have came back here to the people of Tobago, right? And tell them, yes, we have done this, and we have to have a meeting with the hoteliers, and we have to have a meeting with the fishermen and them, so that we could be able to assess how many people go fishing, how much sailfish we had hooked and let go, how was it cost, what's it costing, and also we all can pay our tax and make our contribution to the GDP and the growth and development of the tourism industry, and by extension the island of Tobago. So until I start to speak that kind of language, then we could have a conversation. But if you're not speaking that kind of language, the growth and the development prospect of it, I mean, quite clearly, we are in the back of the classroom, and we need to get to the front of the classroom, and we have to play catch up, right? So when you talk about tourism industry and goals, that means we wasn't doing something right. We silver.
Yeah.
We need to get it right.
Goal.
We need to get it right.
Number one.
So when you're talking about your leading a contingency, why it is you didn't take somebody from the fisher folk to go to sell the fishing industry? Yeah? Why didn't you take somebody from the agriculture sector to say, probably we could do some trade, right? And until you tell me that, and tell me you could develop a port where tourism ship could start to land at least 50 to 80 here in Tobago, apart from coming in Scarborough and stay outside in the port, right? Until you could tell me that. If you can't tell me that, you're not talking growth and development, and you don't have your people interest of heart when you're talking about tourism development. So, ships passing here up and down? Up and down. How much of them we have contracted to stop off here? Do we prepare for them? Are we ready to handle that type of marketing? That type of people entering our space once more? Are we ready? You can't tell me we depend on tourism and we're not ready, right? So, I would like to see a cruise ship complex where cruise ships comes and docked either in Plymouth, Castara, Charlottesville, away from the capital. That will bring revenue, create a hub, so that the man on the streets who selling the calabash, who selling the beneball, they could partake and have a taste of Tobago when they enter. And how many people come off an average of spending 5 or 6 US, and we calculate it by the month and by the year, and how much it will be contributing to the GDP of Tobago, right? So until you're ready to talk that language, if you're not ready to speak that kind of language, I ain't on this set.
In many ways, I could see, right, and I have noticed that we do a lot of development by VAPs on this island, right? It's based on he say, it's based on conjecture, it's based on speculation. And you're right, you guys right. It should be based on nothing else but the data. If it is that we don't know what we're generating, how can we know that we're making a return on our investment?
But this is the thing, and I fundamentally agree with Brother Douglas, because what he spoke to there is really the organizing and structuring of an economy, of a nation, because you can't have an economy without a nation, without a people. In fact, the economy has to be structured for a people and by the people. So when you do the analysis from what my open salvo would have been and what his would have been, what you're seeing here, and it's a real problem in Tobago, is that those that occupy and have occupied office in Tobago don't really understand the vocation, don't understand what the job requires. And it's an escape and a distraction. So you're having a whole set of events, and you just move from event to event, and people are consumed, absorbed, and distracted, confused even. You feel what I'm saying? And at the end of all of that, you still have to depend for a handout from a non-Tobagonian source and non-Tobagonian consolidated fund. So I'm asking, why are we expending all this energy here to go here to go there to do all those things, how is that reporting into the economy of Tobago? How is that? This is really a travesty. So you're having a government that is not prepared. It's not even a government really, because the psychology of government is not there. And before you come in, there's this point about winning award for eco-tourism or eco-destination tourism, winning award. We had to get away from that psychology, examine that psychology. And people and international people, they call them international, awarding us. Do we award them? Where we get that from? We win award. What is that? We have reduced, diminished, militarized ourselves psychologically. It's all slavery going on. We win award. Which award is that? We were in competition. Are we awarding Britain or anybody? We awarding anybody award? Why are we putting ourselves in that position? You feel what I'm saying? Something is terribly wrong with this psychology here.
Mr. James is always blowing my mind. It's always blowing my mind. I want to jump in there. You talk about competency and people that know what they're doing, right? And again, as I say, when I was going to school and all of these things, you started, your eyes get opened and you start to take notice. I was in the position I am in now in marketing and media, right? I studied tourism, all right? And so I got my bachelor's in hospitality tourism management from Barbados. And when you sit and you examine the competency that we had on the island at the time, it's not that we didn't have the competency. It's the politics was keeping the competent people from doing the job that they need to be doing, or put in positions that need to be put in. And I'll give you a prime example, right? Last administration, PNM administration, we had, starting off when Mr. Kelvin Charles was Chief Secretary, right? Nadine Stewart Phillips, I think, was the Tourism Secretary. And we had Kwesi Devines as the Infrastructure Secretary. A lot of people don't know, Kwesi Devines is one of the most qualified persons in tourism on this island we have right now. Kwesi Devines lectured me in university and taught me a lot of things on experiential tourism and stuff like that. Kind of open up my horizon of what it is, to what possible in tourism in Tobago, right? Also, Kwesi is where I used to go to get information for my projects. But they took Kwesi and they put him in infrastructure, and that blew my mind as like the most qualified person you'll have to put in the position to run. And he would have the best understanding.
You would think.
You would think they would put him as the head of tourism.
Yeah, because
of politics.
Yeah, but let me say this. Sometimes, Brother James, we all watch people and they went to university and they come back and believe to us they have a piece of paper say they're a scholar. And when you put them to task, they're nothing more or they're less than a scholar. Because sometimes we judge people by paperwork. I was a chef for over 5 years in Monterey. You can't tell me about tourism, right? You can't tell me about tourism and health, right? But I ain't qualified as a chef, right? I ain't qualified as a doctor.
You're not certified.
You're not certified.
Certified.
I'm not certified.
Experience is a qualification too, yes.
But I tell you what though, I tell them can't beat me in tourism. And none of them can't beat me in the fishing industry because everybody go by paper. Sometimes you take people because they're certified or they're certified. Certified doctor, they kill you. Get it right. I carry my child to the doctor and they prescribe a wrong medication for him, and if I couldn't read and research, my child would have been dead for today. Right? So when you talk about certified, sometimes experience carry a great deal. In Europe, in the same United Kingdom, they're taking them old Irish men who could barely spell the name and turn them into professors. You know why? Because they know what they could do and they what they're doing. When they tell you don't put that pipe here, don't put it here. So what I'm saying to you, it must have a mixture, it must have a balance. Okay? are going back to tourism, Brother James. You take all kind of people and cry them. That is the choice of the chief secretary. He is the chief and the commander.
And others private stakeholders as well went.
I respect that.
Yeah.
Right? As I said earlier on, how much does a fisherman bring, right, to the table? How much of them, how much tourists he cry for the year, right? How much fresh fruits and vegetables sell to the hotel industry for the year? That is how you quantize how things is being allocated and spent and achieved. But until you start to do these things and put things in place, we are in problems. One, Brother James, we have something like 20,000 tourists arriving our shores come next year, right? What we have in place to ensure that these tourists have a stay of their life. We have anything for dirt oven bread of our culture. We must sell our culture. People sell culture and education. Two things that is sold. Culture and education, right? When they come, they always pay me, right? Do we have anything for that? To say, well, on Thursday, up in the Heritage Park or whatever, we having a dough oven bread, so making pumpkin bread, dashing bread, cassava bread.
Come on, learn to make.
Come and share in the experience of Tobago. Have a piece of Tobago in you. Because I tell you, I lived in Europe for over 10 years and I would have partaken in the culture. I would have partaken, I would have learned, I would have basked in some of their ways. So I understand their ways. And when you travel to go anywhere, most time you need to be back a souvenir to say you were there. What do we have? Okay? We ain't getting fishing, the men are not to go fishing set up. Because why? The fishing industry was leave out. They are not qualified. We don't have the critics who say, well, listen, we make a mistake. We don't have that set up. When you have Sunday school, after Sunday school, where do they go? People coming here to drink rum. People coming here to bathe and soak in the sun. People coming here to smoke weed. People coming here to have a party to Tobago. What do we have in place to ensure their safety, that experience? But instead, you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing that we are now going to engage and embarking in the next hotel, a Marriott hotel.
Well, we know you're job pretty good. I was not going to talk for that. I was not going to talk for that.
We only, the fisher folk, only had one consultation with them. Supposed to have more. Where is it? But yet still, I'm saying the chief secretary, we are going to have our next 500 rooms. We can't even fill the rooms that we have.
And I was no.
We can't, Brother James, we can't even fill the rooms that we have to say, well, here what? We could now do a crash calculation based on how many people would arrive. How many airlines should be fighting to enter our space? How many boats should enter to enter our space? Listen, we have a prime fishing industry for experience. No man's lands to the reef, the biggest green coral. These are things that need to be structured, and sometimes you don't take a man with a degree to structure it. You take the basic man who know the ins and outs along with the person that is certified
or qualified
to work together. But when you start dissecting people, when you start dissecting it, you will have a problem. You will have a problem. So we need to rethink when we talk in the terms of selling Tobago. We need to do it together, not separate and apart. And when you're wrong or you're going in the wrong direction, you need to, we need to let them know you're going in the right direction. Do not get angry. Do not get vexed. When you're in school and your teacher tells you you have something wrong, you need to listen and understand the right way in going forward or navigating your way to the right path. Don't get angry, because for far too long, this island go through a lot of nepotism, victimization because you are in the black party or in the blue party. We all are Tobagonians, right? And I'm going to say this tonight. If you do not want to work together, I say remove you or put you aside. Because you have some people believe if they make things difficult for the chief secretary, that their party will come inside and do better. We have to stop that nonsense. We have to stop that nonsense, and we have to make some harsh decision. Hence the reason why I said, take this meeting. Because Brother James and I are going to tell you, what we're going to talk tonight is the truth. And the fact. So when you're talking about a new hotel, and some of it are dreams and secrets, yes, we need to market, but we have to be careful what type of market we enter into, right? Because you must have standard. If you go in Harrods, I don't know if you ever know what Harrods.
In London, yeah.
Right. Harrods is different from Primark, right? When you go in Harrods, expect class. Go there and expect them to measure and make some suit that fit into you.
Right.
Go in Primark, you go and try and hope it fits. So you need to decide what type of people you want in your island, and what kind of tourism you're encouraging, and who will benefit. Who are the people that will benefit from such a marketing, and also inviting people into your space? Who is going to benefit? Is the people going to benefit? Is the Trinidad compartment going to benefit? Who is the one going to benefit? Is the small man on the street going to benefit? So you have to incorporate your people and put them in place structure so that we all should benefit. Because what we should know, GDP will a proper GDP will determine what type of quality life you as an individual will have.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to get it right.
Let me frame this up. The Chief Sec just announced a hotel development in the Kilgrim Bay area. Earlier this year, Marriott, that would have been in the Mount Irving Bay area. He also alluded to Manta Lodge, that is also supposed to come on stream, which is supposed to be a bespoke dive hotel. And you spoke about the room stock that we had, and we're not being able to fill the room stock, right? And the argument is being said that it's not really the amount of rooms that we have, but it's the quality of rooms that we're able to provide, because they want to be able to attract a higher spending tourists, right? And they are accustomed to a certain level of room stock, right? And the local tourism, the local room stock will not be able to upgrade to that standard, which I don't necessarily agree with.
No, right? Listen, when you want to make an excuse for your failure, you find all kind of reasons to make excuses because of your downfall, you know. You understand what I'm telling you? Your room stock. You have a meeting with all the hoteliers. You have a meeting with all the hoteliers, and you trying to tell me, I've been all over the world. And I'm telling you, some of the qualities of rooms that they have there is second to none. You know, if you're talking about 5-star and 10-star, Dubai. I mean, you're talking a different type. If you're talking about Dubai, you're talking about different type of life.
Type of tourism.
And different type of life and tourism. We selling something different here, right? We selling sea, sun, heritage, safety, right? And a good time and rum. Right? So when you're talking about...
I like how you're chewing the rum day.
Yeah, because that is the Caribbean. That is what we're known for, right? So when you're talking about room stocks, all you just have to need is have a meeting and work. So you believe you're bringing them room stocks here, and you don't have an airline to bring in people consistently throughout the year. What good is the room stock if you can't fill them? And remember, it have different classes of tourism. You could go in England, it have bread and breakfast. It have bread and breakfast. It have different types. So don't tell me about room stocks. The rooms is there. What we need to do is to put people into it, organize whereby the whole tourism and hotel industry, along with the local man, the farmers, the fisherman, the layman,
the taxi man,
right? The bus drivers, right? Organize so that we all know, could say, here what's going on. You provide orange, you provide banana, you provide service, you provide boat, you provide fishing. So when these people come, there is something for them to follow, to enjoy Tobago. They will be guided, right? So we know how much the farmers going to be making. We know how much the fisherman going to be making. We know how much the taxi man going to be making. We know how much you're going to be paying on public transport. We must know these things. But if you're talking about room stocks and you don't have the plane, Virgin Atlantic is pulling out. Who is coming in?
They ain't pulling out, they pull out.
Well, who is coming in?
They're out already.
Who is coming in?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. We need to focus more on what is contributing to our GDP instead of froth. Talk about this, Brother James, talk about that.
Yeah.
We need to be more serious. The world is a serious world. We need to stop this laugh and grinning and pretending
Serious.
and don't like you and don't give a walk and them kind of nonsense. We need to get rid of that. There is no room in this world right now
Especially
for this type of behavior, because by the end of the day, I'm telling you, when you as a Tobagonian leave and go to England or to Europe or to America, right? They call you an immigrant. When you come home, they call you a foreigner. You tell me, right? So what I'm saying, it starts with us. It starts, I said, with the person who didn't need dirt off and break bread, right? The person who running a little taxi, taking them from point A to B back and safe. It starts with the police officers. It starts with the men on the beach, the beat bums who will go and get this for them get that for them.
I don't call them the beach boys, I call them the island boys.
The island boys.
I just call them
it
the
starts
island
with
boys.
the island boys. So it's a collaborative effort, and you need to have that conversation with Tobago in moving forward, right? Because I'm saying to you, everybody don't know a airlift and a port is very pertinent when you're talking tourism and development. Those are the key main point. When I think when you watch TV, you're seeing all of the ports and them, all of the big cities and the hubs around the sea, the port and the airport. They just refurbished Gatwick Airport, trying to push everybody through Gatwick. Now you get a train from Gatwick straight to London. You understand what I'm saying? What are we doing but in public transport for the people? So all this is tourism because we are talking not only tourists from United States and Europe, but tourists from our neighbor islands, Grenada, St. Lucia, Trinidad.
You talk about something very fundamental there. You talk about, and this is something the teacher, they talk about degrees and things.
Yeah.
But this is something that the teacher very early in, when you're in a tourism program.
Yes.
They teach about linkages.
That's right.
And tourism is a very special industry. It's not like oil. It's not.
No.
It's not separate and apart doing its own thing. It's like it interconnected to every single part of society.
That's right.
And so any little thing. Yeah, works and transport, if that is operating in African tourism.
That's right.
You understand? Agriculture the same. Before I reach Mr. James,
sure.
right? Before I reach Mr. James. And so they teach you that, right? But I'll go to you, Mr. James, on this question. They say they want to bring in all these different hotels. And we already have so many local industries, and we talk about linkages and building the economy in Tobago. Do you think that we have what it takes right now in Tobago, right, to develop a successful tourism product without having to bring on the international players like the Marriott and the whoever else they want to bring?
Well, let me begin from the perspective, because we had a very vital contribution. Dr. Douglas.
Doctor. Correct. You're getting one PhD now?
Yeah. And when I listen to him, he's not discussing tourism only. He's discussing tourism, but tourism as a part of the whole
of the economy.
And that's why you spoke about the linkages, because as I've argued, it is all interrelated and interconnected. He talk about safety. You can't bring people here
and they're not safe.
But then we are not in charge of safety.
Yeah, we have no administration over that.
So when he says also that, we have to stop the skylarking and so on, what we need to build in Tobago is a political economy. We have to build a sovereign Tobago, a Tobago that we are responsible for, with all the elements, right, of government, all the elements of government. We are shying away from the inevitable in Tobago. In the absence of that inevitability, we have to plan towards that. And the inevitability I'm talking about is that sovereignty, is the complete organization of government in Tobago. If we don't do that, then there's no excitement, and there ought not to be any excitement from any Tobagoan about discussing tourism. Tourism has to be part of an entire governmental structure in Tobago. If you're just discussing tourism in abstraction, my brother, you're really talking about enslaving the people of Tobago. You're talking about giving away Tobago.
Yeah.
And right now we must be honest to ourselves and ask ourselves, what role are the native Tobagonians playing in that tourism? It's something that we have to really, really consider. And so that I have seen already, one of the things that is plaguing the regime is that the regime, in age to some degree and in experience in the other degree, they are young. Young in experience and lack of knowledge, a lack of preparedness for where Tobago needs to be at this point in time. So I'm saying we might find ourselves establishing an economic and political empire, a giant right here in Tobago. So when the Chief Secretary speaks about the Marriott Hotel, and the idea didn't come from him.
No,
it existed before, and it came from the bosom, the bowels of the PNM. You have to understand that.
Yeah.
And the PNM now is busy trying to grab everything before the UNC comes in, because they know for sure that this is the last term. And let me tell you something, they may never get another term in Trinidad forever. It's a reality. Now you live long enough. The UNC moved from 8 seats whilst they were in the incarnation of the ULF. You remember that?
Yeah.
ULF with Bazio Pandey and Reflection. They moved from 8 seats and then to 9 seats.
Again, the history lesson.
Hold on there. And then they jump. And every time they go up, the PNM comes down. They jump to 13 seats, and then to 17, and then to 19
18
seats. No, they jumped to 19, and then it came back now
to 18.
to 18.
Okay,
18. Follow what I'm saying? The population, the African population is dying out in Trinidad, not growing. You follow what I'm saying? They're dying. They're killing over 500 of them a year, murdering. If there's a war going on down there, the other population, this is a reality that we have to discuss, and they are growing and growing, and the time will come. And I'm saying from the next election, because I don't see any whole way the PNM can win the next election. So what they are doing now, with their finances, they are trying now to gobble up everything, and their eyes are upon Tobago. In fact, Paula Schoon Gopi Singh, or Gopi Skin School, wherever she was. You know what I'm saying? She announced, and it's in a video, and it played on the Assembly website too. She announced contemptuously, but to many Tobagonians very innocently, but it was riddled with contempt, that apart from the Marriott Hotel, they, and you see the power in the sentence, they, the subject of the sentence, they. She said they have many more plans for Tobago. See, it is where they are making plans
for us.
Yes, in an area that they have no constitutional jurisdiction over. They are making plans for matters that the Assembly. Because the only way they can do that, they couldn't do that if Anthony Charles was Chief Secretary.
Nah.
They couldn't do that if Anthony James was Chief Secretary. If Anna Robinson was Chief Secretary, they couldn't do that. But when they look into there, and I'm just being real here.
Yeah.
I know many Tobagonians, through the excitement of the last election, may not want to face the reality. As I've said before.
It's sinking in, you know. It's sinking in.
When they look into the office of the Chief Secretary, there was a popular theme in the last election. Nobody lives there.
Right.
And that is what is going on.
Because they don't know.
Nobody lives there.
Yeah.
And then, busy now, did not have the decency, the political decency, to announce it here. In England, he is announcing that they are going to build Killigrew, and they're very glad and excited. You have to remove gladness away from office. Government is very sober. You have to take away the gladness and the excitement. You can have the passion still. We have to take away a happy to reach the Prime Minister. You can't have a leader that's happy to reach the next leader. You're in trouble.
Glassy eyes.
You happy and not happy for the constituency. Really happy, a personal happiness. I'm going to reach the Prime Minister. Not realizing that he's equivalent in this whole scenario. He's equivalent and more important. Trinidad already fixed.
Yeah.
Tobago is years, centuries behind time.
Behind.
And a lot of work is needed. But he's happy to reach the Prime Minister.
Brother James.
You know what I'm saying?
Brother James, let me say this. I hear say about Charles and you.
Yeah.
if I was chief secretary for today,
Everybody want to be chief
all
tonight.
that nonsense.
Everybody want to be chief tonight. You can
Yeah,
only have
because
one
hear what? If I was the chief secretary, from the announcement of that budget, my first action was self-governance, autonomy for Tobago, because I would have campaigned on it.
Yeah.
I would have told the people about it. I would have walked roads and homes,
mobilizing and so on.
mobilizing. And you tell me, Mr. Innsbruck, what his name is again?
Call him Imbert.
Oh, Mr. Inbert. I want to get his name right.
close.
Right? I want to get his name right. I'm not sure. Right?
In good.
Telling me giving Tobago not even $5 billion when an oil rig, a pipeline from Tobago to Castara producing over $1 billion US dollars a year, and you telling me you can't give Tobago $5 billion TT dollars? You telling me? And I'm sitting there smiling with the Prime Minister. He's not my friend. If he's my friend, he would have ensure that Tobago as a Tobagonian got what they want. When your child hungry and you're home, the first thing you do is try to feed your child. But instead what they do, they bat the milk and throw it out of Tobagonian's mouth and tell them drink that, and I sit down here quiet as the chief secretary of Tobago. Mr. Douglas will not sit down as the chief secretary of Tobago and tolerate those kind of insults to Tobagonian, because you say any rally, you say any call to move Tobago in an upward direction, but yet still when something happen in the offices, you telling me as a secretary you can give them instructions because of you in charge of policies. Change the damn policies. What's wrong with you?
What you mean? And that's a real problem in Tobago now.
Of course.
Because you're having secretaries, I know, they're trying to micromanage people's office. They are responsible, as you say, for policy. The general control and direction means policy. You have the steering wheel to steer policy. They want to bypass administrator, want to step down and getting involved in things that is the worst, I'm telling you. Even the PNM, that not from here, did not behave like that.
Correct.
But you have no secretaries want to bypass, and in fact they're railroading some administrators. They want to bypass administrators and want to give instructions below. It's all kind of crazy.
And you still don't want to fight for autonomy for Tobago. That should be on your forefront. So when you're talking about tourism, we're talking about us. But the quality of life of Tobagonians, being able to make our own laws here to guide us. Why it is I have to make $1 billion from a pipeline, Brother James, and send it to Trinidad, and then turn back and beg you
to get back,
to give me
a portion,
and still when I ask for the portion they give me, I ask, you're not giving me, and I must shut up and put a lollipop in my mouth and tell me go and smile. And that can't happen because I represent the people. I said, Mr. Douglas, as chief secretary, those nonsense can't happen.
Them budget almost
balanced. How's that possible?
You see, you are speaking from a position there now of experience, and you are seasoned. You follow what I'm saying? And you are grounded. You are baptized. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
You are baptized. That's a political, philosophical life baptism, so that you don't relent from certain position. It's like Robinson in the parliament there.
Yeah.
Coming with guns
yet.
But he know that he ain't bowing down.
No.
You have to reach that stage of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
That's right.
That you're not bowing down to the nonsense.
I stand for this.
You follow what I'm saying? But after we work for centuries and build the cabinet, what is going on here now? We calling this politics and policies where you're giving away control. We're not going to get back, but I'm prepared now. And a statement I want to make tonight here, and I really have to pray for some good health and strength. Because listen to me, we have to resist the innocence.
Yes.
The innocence that is passing for is innocence. Innocence, ignorance, and there's a little greed in it too. Don't get me.
Yes.
There's a little greed mixed up with innocence, ignorance, and a little bit of greed. And that is what is being responsible for to give away Marriott, so that we could get the natives here, who the land belong to, could get a little piece of a measly jobs, the crumbs on them, and then give them to Gate Off, big community.
Gate it off.
Listen to me, I'm an electrical inspector. I go around to Tobago every day, and I know what's going on there. I know what's going on. So all their main intention, and they're fooling the leaders. It's not a new story. Since in the old times, they fooled our forefathers and all these things. They are not interested in Tobago. No. They are not going to build Quilligrean Hotel down there. What they want is in Iceland. That's why they wanted no man's land.
Yeah.
Why we giving Marriott Quilligrean and we didn't give no man's land?
Yeah.
Why? And who is in charge? So I'm saying I am not excited to even go into all those details in tourism. Who is controlling it?
Right.
Are we building it for ourselves? Are we the host? I am telling you, we are not the host here in Tobago. There are other people coming in and being the host. I want Tobagonians to understand this. Your chief secretary and the government, they are way off track. Totally and completely off track. They are making slaves of Tobagonians and they are empowering a certain kind. It has happened in Trinidad.
Yeah.
But what has caused it to succeed in Trinidad is the divide, the political divide between Africans and Indians. The only issue for them in Trinidad is who control.
Right.
It doesn't matter what's going on long day. Africans are fearful of Indians and the Indians want to take over.
Yeah.
In the meantime, in all of that, the government have not fortified the Africans. Same thing happening here. They have not fortified. I've said before, you can take the Africans out and the Indians will still survive. If you take the Indians out and somebody 1% people out, the country collapses. You know why? Because the Africans cannot command industry. The education system is a total disaster. I'm saying all we're discussing is total government. You can't single out tourism. So right now, in this context here, where they're running to England building tourism, as they say, they made a point. Airlifts and so on. Who controls Caribbean Airline?
But it doesn't seem like
what is our relationship?
It doesn't seem
with
like
Caribbean Airline.
It doesn't seem like anybody who has any kind of stakeholder interest in Tobago is in any position of influence in Caribbean Airlines.
But this is what I'm saying.
Because I can tell you, and I stand by this. Caribbean Airlines constantly attacks us and works against our best interests in the simplest, most backhanded ways.
So who Caribbean Airlines belongs to?
It belongs to Trinidad.
Right, but legally. And this we have a point. All these things carry the name of Tobago.
Yeah.
They carry Tobago's name on it. As long as they carry Tobago's name, Tobago has equality. That's how it's ought to be.
That is how it's supposed to be, correct.
I'm saying,
correct.
But in order to make that case, we have to understand that. We have to understand that. So the way you see the government here, if you can call them government, relating to Caribbean Airlines, they're not relating to Caribbean Airlines as though they are government. They're operating as Caribbean Airlines over them.
Yeah.
And they're literally begging Caribbean. Give me a little flight here.
Should not
Tobago is nowhere.
Yeah.
But, and I'm saying to you, from where I'm looking in, this is going on for as long as this government remain in power.
Yeah.
This is what it will be. This is what will be happening.
Yeah.
I don't settle for that already.
No,
the quality is not there.
We still in tourism kinda somewhat, but we also talking about the performance of the government, right? And as I said at the beginning of the program, we wanted to touch on that. The performance of this administration. We're coming up on a year. Next month would be a year. December 6th was the last election.
Yeah, they might have been sworn in somewhere around the 10th or 11th.
Yeah, so we're coming up on a year, and we will have a lot of different people assessing, and so we'll also have to assess here.
Yeah.
The performance of the administration over the past 9 months. Mr. Douglas, you spoke about the self-governance.
Yeah.
And I fully agree with you. When it is that we got the budget, we should. Well, I never really thought that the conversation should have never fall off in general. But if at any point we should have brought back up that conversation, not conversation, but at that point we should have been in the streets with placards. Was after the budget.
It has to be led by the.
But exactly. It has to be led by exactly.
Yeah, it has to be led by.
No. And so just now before you jump back in, and so it felt like the self-government again was something to get Tobagonians rile up to vote a certain way again. Because again, it's not being discussed. And we don't know where it is, right? And 1 year in, almost 1 year in, we haven't reached anywhere when it comes to that. And I would think that that's the most important mandate that this administration
If you
has.
listeners tonight, the conclusion that you will draw is you have to, without that, you're nowhere. Right?
Exactly. So, Mr. Douglas, what you think about, if you would rate the performance?
When you're rating something, you have to be very careful because you know beauty is the eyes of the
The beholder, yes.
right? So also
That's why we need
and
to have
also
everybody's opinion.
and how you rate success, all right? It depends. So success, this is something very hard. Now, I want the listeners and the viewers to understand. We appreciate Mr. Chavez and what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's trying. He's one of the youngest leaders that we have.
Yeah, they get jacket where they do.
You know what I mean? He's showing out, but he need help. And he have to understand that you need help from all different walks of life, especially all of the ones of Tobagonians. Because what? Here we have Woodside, Brother James, is doing some surveys outside of Tobago to start to draw gas to run some pipelines to Trinidad again, right? We have all about 3 oil rigs that pumping gas, some who to Cove and to all about. These are all revenues from Tobago. Tobago is making at least 7 and 7, 14, over $21 billion, right? And Tobago can even get $5 billion. I mean, that is what you call slavery. That is what you call, this is what you call island trafficking. This is what you call abuse. That is what you call nepotism. This is what you call wickedness. This is what you call hatred. This is what you call slavery. This is what you call all evil of manner done to the people of Tobago. And as the chief and commander of the island, which is Mr. Chavez, he is the one to be the Spartan that he is, to lead the people, lead the people to what is rightfully theirs. Meaning, you cannot sit back and accept this amount of money. Remember, the government of Trinidad and Tobago was paying Tobago, the THE, on a month-to-month basis,
Before.
which was illegal.
And they accept it.
Right? And I can't say they're upset because I don't know what private meetings.
The
I don't know
administration before
yeah,
accepted.
the administration, so I don't know what Mr. Chavez have done, so I can't say what Mr. Chavez
Nobody
did.
changed it.
Well, I
changed
don't
it
know,
now.
right? But yet still, I'm hearing people still not getting salaries, right?
Okay.
So I do not know if Tobago have gotten their releases as yet, right? And if so, why? Are we willing to go to court? Are we willing to take them to task? Or are we willing to be under the thumbs of Trinidadians, right? I am not a stepchild. And I do not wish to be treated as a stepchild, right? I expect to be treated as an equal. So when you're talking about reviewing the actions of the performance of Mr. Chavez, one, and his team, one, they are pretty young and green, and it would have people trying to make his job difficult.
From the jump.
But Mr. Chavez must have the testicle fortitude to remove those with the venomous and infection venom to infect others from moving or navigating forward. Remove them if they fail to work and to achieve the vision and the mandate of the people of Tobago. Right? So when you're reviewing it now, you could say, yes, he had a full staff. He had the cooperation of the people. Right? Because, I mean, fishermen was crying out. They would have destroyed hundreds of fishermen,
The fish pots.
fish pots and fads. That hasn't been adjusted as yet. Right? You have given Tobago less than the worth. That hasn't just yet. You haven't given AFA the rights to put a structure in the fishing industry where we could now structure the price of fish, the sales of fish that goes in the bellies of our people. Right? We haven't adjusted the gas rebate for the people. We haven't adjusted the land issues that plagues us that belongs to us.
Very good point.
Very good point, yeah.
We haven't even touched on the surface of that.
Like we have forgotten that actually.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, we
Let
have-
me start to jump in, because we had a wrap up and I didn't
Yeah, I
get
know,
you want to
Brother
get
James.
finished.
These are so many things that hasn't been discussed and quantumized, right? So how do you judge somebody within a year when some of these things haven't been met?
So you're saying more time is needed
And-
before we could evaluate.
And more so, we get silver. How many tourism had, how much heads has land here in Tobago?
For the year.
And what was the revenue that was taken up for the contribution of the development of growth, the domestic product for Tobago? So, Brother James, I know you have plenty to say.
Yeah.
I have plenty to say. You know.
Yeah, but we're going to bring it back because this is a topic. I say we were going to touch it at the end, but this is a topic we really need 2 or 3 programs to really flesh out.
So I'm saying you cannot crucify Mr. Chavez. Mr. Chavez is just a baby in the business that is growing rapidly, right? Obviously, when you're learning to walk, you trip, you fall.
Yeah.
But sometimes your parents pick you up. Some of we just battle with parents and still stretch back for it, right? So it's a whole host of things. You know have to manage. We are talking about taxes paying in Tobago. Taxes. You have not all the taxes paid in Trinidad. So we take away money and sell it. So how do you quantize the performance?
You can't get me started on that.
Yeah, so let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Not the end of the
No government from Trinidad, no government from Trinidad could come on state property and tell me they're building a hotel in Tobago. No private. Right? No, you know, Mugabe was most illustrated and condemned. Right? But some of these actions were what the people wanted. Freedom. Tobago is calling for freedom. Financial freedom. Freedom of owning our own property. Freedom of being able to go to a financial institution and get financial assistance. When we as fishermen go to the ADB bank, they ask what is the size of your shoes. The ADB bank supposed to be able to develop so that we could get bigger boats, so we could put a more cheaper fish staple in the bellies of our children that will be running our future. That is not done. Are we carrying any fish in Tobago? The same tuna we send about, we could carry them here. Tobago tuna.
Right, it go.
Right? So what I'm saying, so we're not talking about assessing the THA, the performance of the THA. Right? How many young fellas at the age of 18 could get their own house and land and go into a financial institution? Trinidadians are doing it already. So how do we access that? How do we quantumize that?
Yeah,
But James, jump in before we finish.
I'm
I'll
with
cut
you
you
there.
off on it.
And
There
I
you
like
go.
you raised the land issue.
Of
Because
course.
that is something that I was championing on another station, High Five. I could call it here,
Yeah.
you know, when I used to do High Five on
Yeah.
Channel 5. We had the gentleman from the old lawyer guy there from Bethel. Forget his name now. Tall guy when you going on by the police station.
Yeah.
There. You remember his name? there?
Yeah. Now I remember his name, but I know.
Easy man was dealing with that day. He had, you know, he had,
Yes.
one time I let him come on the program and build and bring all the files that he has as Tobagonians. You can't regularize the land in Tobago. You can't make deeds in Tobago. Everything is controlled.
Trinidad.
Tobagonians have no deed for Tobago because we have no constitution. And then you had Imbud.
What name?
Was Alwari
Imbud.
talking
Oh,
sometime, well, you know, sometime
Alwari is
next
another
year.
one,
That was
but
since last year.
last year,
He'll
yeah.
allow Tobagonians to do that.
Yeah.
You hear the language, he
easy.
allow us to do that.
How dare he?
Is he a massa? You see, but what happened, I'm telling you something. Tobago has to have the right leadership.
Correct.
I mean, I could talk, but Douglas can speak and so on. But without the right leadership, and all that he has spoken there is to really, we have to structure government in Tobago. A sovereign government, not answerable to Trinidad.
No.
You have to have people there who could operate outside of the law, outside of the confines of slavery, outside, because the law of slavery is a law. But slavery is illegal.
Yes.
And the constitution of Trinidad and Tobago is illegal.
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago is an illegal country. I've said it. But people
Many
might try to
times.
understand. Trinidad and Tobago is an illegal state. Any state where one people colonize another is illegal. Colonization is illegal.
Colonial.
And how do we know? The parliament is on official record. The parliament accepted a motion from A.N.R. Robinson for self-government. From the time they accepted that, they accepted that Trinidad is the colonizer of Tobago. And so you have a case, you have a platform to stand. But many people have been holding programs. He has been talking, I've been talking. So the chief secretary and the government, they have many advisors. But are they listening? I have spoken about Marriott. Fali is not taking me on. And I want to tell the people of Tobago before I go tonight, we have to be prepared to resist this government. They're not giving away Kilgreen Bay. It is not theirs to give away. They're not giving it. They're not going to give it to Rowley and his friends down there.
Yeah.
They're not going to give away Marriott Back Bay to Marriott either. It is ours. And tourism, we need to redefine our minds where tourism is concerned. Tourism is our people. We hosting. We are hosting the guests. Not other people coming here and hosting the guests and employee here.
Yeah.
That is not tourism. I want us to understand that. So this is why I don't want to get into that, because all that went on there, all that, the administration, the trajectory is totally off. The tourism secretary, she's innocent. And what is going on through that innocent, because I said there was no successful template. So it's what they hear people saying. The city former regime and other people talking that. And there are some other people, you hear them, they are president of this, president of that. They're not from here. They're in the Tobago space. But they're owning, they're carrying Tobago name. President of Tobago this, president of Tobago that. President, we can't interpret these things and properly define them. And they are not running. What they're really doing, in that ignorance, they are building an empire over Tobago here. The very government here now, through the innocence and the ignorance, they are guilty of building an empire that will enslave Tobago. And Tobagoans must be happy for the kind of intervention that myself and the brother they're making tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, because you know,
We cannot
I know we can't go over, but here what we have two representatives, one from the east, one from the west. Have you heard their voice?
Not since.
Have you heard the voice of
They have
freedom
been-
for the Tobagonians?
they've been
You
very
hear them
quiet.
bring up in parliament or push a motion forward or to even have a conversation.
All a press conference.
I tell well, hear what? Brother Fali, listen, we all are Tobagonians, and I'm fighting to push a motion so that Tobago could make their own laws and we could be free but partner with.
You know when we're going to hear them?
Yeah?
You know when we're going to hear
Election
them?
time.
2025.
Well, hear what going on. That is when the people of Tobago would not hear them. That is when the people of Tobago know. So when the prime minister using the president house, the prime minister house, and spending over $60 million and giving them Tobago how much to develop. How much for the development of Tobago?
Yeah, good point,
But
good
you
point.
spending
Yeah.
over $60 million
For one
and you want to
building.
ask me to how far you going to perform? You give him any money?
You know what I mean?
You give him the money, but you want him to perform. So hear what? I'm telling you to go down the road and bring a fish, but you don't give me no line, no hook, nothing, no money to buy the fish, but you want to eat fish. So you ain't giving the man the money where he asked for, but you're telling me Tobago must develop. But yet still you want to bring in all kind of your friends and them and your corporate giants and them to build hotel in Tobago and then have Fali looking, Mr. Chavez looking like a clown, right? So you're the big boss here, right? All this have to change and Mr. Chavez have to circle the people, ask for the support of the people. The people are ready. They are ready to march. They are ready to walk. They are ready to fight for the freedom and independence in making decisions to rule them in Tobago.
Leadership is the key.
Right.
Leadership.
Leadership is the key.
All right. Gentlemen, we had to bring all that back. I tell you now that when we touch on this performance and what went on for the past year or so, you really can't do it in a 2 minutes or 5 minutes.
Can't.
We really need several programs, and I hope that the producers will bring you all back on so we could continue this conversation as we
next week, man.
Yeah. So as the time go by, because it will reach a fever pitch. It will reach a fever pitch next month. But one thing, if it's one thing I've learned while hosting this program and speaking to all the different Tobagonians who have a love and a passion for this island, is that we want to govern ourselves and be able to guide our own destiny.
Correct.
That is one thing, and it keeps going back to that almost every time I have the
But
discussion.
all the issues, any time back.
It ties back to that, all right? So, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us tonight, right? Very, very fruitful and passionate discussion. I could feel the passion tonight from the panelists here. And, yes, so, again, we hope to have you on soon. Tobago, thank you for joining us tonight on 40 Hour. Right, it was a wonderful. We had a wonderful time. It was wondrous having you from Tobago Update Studios. I am Edison Thomas, and until next time, next Monday, have a good night. We'll see you then.